Buddy. Welcome to our presentation on what is deemed the FIFA problem. And so we've seen a growing scenario, especially after the 2018 and 2022 World Cups, that many higher ups in the FIFA organization are seeing corruption, uh, a lack of integrity, and distrust, and just a dividing of the unity that the FIFA organization is. And so today we're going to dive into that where we create a scenario where we take control now over FIFA and solve all the current issues that we're seeing within the FIFA within FIFA. So my name is Ricky Zubizarreta, and we also have
Douglas Schwartner.
I'm Andrew Kinnemer.
I'm Kyle Purchase, and we had a fifth member, Vedanth, who prepared a slide but was not able to make the meeting.
and so now we're gonna pass it off to Douglas.
All right, so the first thing that we'll talk about is the new vision statement that we came up for FIFA. Obviously, with the arrests and the distrust, there's quite a bit of issues with FIFA right now and how people are kind of perceiving them and trusting them. The first place to start for them is a great vision statement. Obviously, a vision statement is something they're looking to achieve, and the one that we came up with is to create an environment where all people can come together to support and trust each other through competition and teamwork. Just to elaborate a little bit on this, the competition and teamwork comes in obviously FIFA with soccer, them hosting such a big tournament. But this is where we want to kind of tie in the relationship conflict that they've kind of had with people who support FIFA. This is why we're including trust each other and support, just so people can kind of see that FIFA, similar to a team for soccer, comes together and supports each other and is willing to trust and kind of make FIFA be perceived as a more trustworthy and transparent organization, and that they are actively striving to get back towards that after kind of losing everyone's trust with these claims. All right, so now the next thing that we created for them is a mission statement. Now, this is what they're actively doing to help get to them to that vision statement. And the one that we came up with is to provide a global football tournament with transparent and moral governing. Um, just to pick this kind of apart, obviously, FIFA's main goal is soccer or football and running that. But with all the arrests and various distrust that they've kind of fostered recently with their executive body, this has led to them having many people not trust FIFA and then multiple governments getting involved. So this is why our mission statement is kind of addressing all of this by saying, look, our governing body is now going to be transparent and try to have very ethical ways of doing things, moral governing. So this is hopefully going to lead people to trusting more with the organization and not and kind of changing that perception of how FIFA is now being seen. I am now going to pass it off to Ricardo.
And so kind of piggybacking off of what Douglas was describing with creating a transparent environment within FIFA, especially with the governing body, as well as establishing and regaining the trust that was lost. Now we can kind of set out the exact way that we're going to reach the mission that we have. And so we have three core values here. The first being integrity. Because without the trust, we can't lead a global football community. And keeping the integrity of the organization, which was, I would say, previously damaged, it's now important to have that as a core value to establish it, maintain it, and make sure it doesn't ever get lost again. And how do you make sure that that happens? Well, you establish a second core value of accountability. Because not only do we want to keep our integrity, but the only way that you keep it is staying accountable and making sure that you're creating systems that ensure transparency and responsibility, not only at the smaller levels, but all levels of the organization, at the high levels, at the even highest level. doing that helps us, like Douglas was saying in one of our as our mission is to be transparent. And if you're trying to keep your integrity and you're not keeping accountable, then you're just going to be covering up a lot of breaches of that integrity and not be transparent. And what does this all bring us to do? Well, it brings us to all be more unified because with that transparency, with the accountability and regaining of the integrity of the organization, the world gets brought together. You know, we've seen a growing distrust in the world with different disputes between different governments for different countries. And so we want football to be the global unifier. And through, these increased fair play, respect, actions, and accountability, things that we're going forward with, we're seeking to also bring the community back together to be whole. And so now I'm going to pass it off to Kyle.
So we did a SWOT analysis of FIFA to kind of figure out where we're excelling and where we need to improve on. And so to start off with the strengths, as we've seen, especially through the fan participation, FIFA is a global brand. It's has fans all across the world, pretty much in every continent. It's one of the largest uh, fan-backed organizations in the world. And so you see that especially with the World Cup, how viewed that is every 4 years and how many countries participate in it. So they have the ability, and they already do, reach and span across the whole world. On top of that, FIFA already has good developmental programs. You see this with the FIFA for or football for schools, with the educational initiatives that they have, as well as FIFA Forward, which provides financial technical support to different countries for football. Now, for the weaknesses, one thing in the past we've really struggled with is not being transparent, especially when it comes to finances. An example of this was the selection to have the World Cup in 2022 in Qatar. A lot of people, they never really revealed why that was, but a lot of people speculate that it was because Qatar offered a lot of money and FIFA kind of just hosted it there so they could go for the money grab. We've also had a lot of corruption issues, like Ricky talked about in the introduction, that obviously that's caused a lot of mistrust from a lot of the fans, and a lot of people have kind of lost faith in the integrity of FIFA. But looking at opportunities that we can take advantage of is one thing, especially is the growing markets of soccer, especially when you look in China and India and even the US, as it's becoming more popular and more people are wanting to watch it and participate in the sport. Another one is the social impact, especially through those developmental programs I talked about, that FIFA can have the opportunity to go make a change and make a difference, especially in countries that aren't as well off. They have the ability to bring funding in there and help those kids in those communities get that funding and also bring them soccer and bring them joy through the sport. And finally, we have some threats to FIFA as an organization. One thing, obviously, is competition from other sports. Basketball is a pretty global sport. And as far as different regions across the world, you have things like cricket and field hockey that obviously is big in a lot of other countries. Here in America, American football is really big. So there always is going to be that competition from other sports that will threaten the popularity of soccer and FIFA as an organization, as well as geopolitical disruptions, whether that be wars such as going on in Israel and Palestine or Russia and Ukraine that can disrupt maybe the participation of teams in tournaments like the World Cup, or whether it just be political issues like we see in Spain between Barcelona and the region there and the Spanish government. And now I'm going to be passing it off to Andrew.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you, Kyle. And to kind of go off of that SWOT analysis, we've developed four different strategies um, to kind of embody the vision and mission statement that Doug talked about. And the first one is going to be the opportunity strength strategy. And this one, in theory, should be the easiest one to implement and hopefully be successful because not only is there an opportunity in the world, but it's also one of our strengths. So this strategy, what we have is it's going to be we're going to use FIFA's strong brand recognition to expand the grassroots football program in developing nations. And like Kyle talked about, is wanting to bring FIFA and soccer to maybe like impoverished parts of the world who might not have that luxury or money, and being able to have football not just be a sport, but like be something that's unifying. Also, going back to what Ricardo was talking about, having soccer or football as a unifying movement as part of culture. Yeah, and this opportunity comes from just the growth of football and popularity amongst developing countries, and it embodies one of our strengths, which is FIFA's brand influence and the existing global networks that FIFA already has. Yeah, and hopefully with this strategy, we'd be able to push FIFA and soccer and that into all parts of the world. Moving on to our second strategy, which is going to be operating weakness strategy. Like we already touched on, one issue that we had, one of our weaknesses was not being very transparent with our financial situations, like Cutter, like we talked about. And so our strategy for this is going to be adopting a blockchain technology for financial transactions. And this really is a strong opportunity now in today's world with the emerging popularity of blockchain. And what blockchain is it's really a decentralized platform where we can make these financial transactions. And having it decentralized really helps with the transparency and letting the public see what exactly is going on, where the money's going, and what transactions are actually partaking in. So not only is this going to be very beneficial, allowing people to see what's going on and help regain public trust, but there's a strong popularity in blockchain and can help us develop for the future. Our third strategy is going to be our threat strength strategy. And this one that we're going to implement is our plan is to launch a global integrity initiative to combat the reputation threats against FIFA's influence. So like we've talked about, there's been a lot of scrutiny about FIFA in the past, whether it be the financial transactions not being very transparent or corruption. And what we're trying to do with this is really regain that public trust and rebuild that reputation that we might have lost in a lot of the public. And this is just a great way to do that. It embodies one of our strengths, which we think will be very helpful into implementing the strategy, which is our global reach and our stakeholder influence. Being able to reach all parts of the world and utilize that in order to regain public trust, we think will be very beneficial and help mitigate that threat that we already have. And then our final strategy we want to implement is going to be the threat weakness strategy. And this one, kind of the opposite of the opportunity strength strategy, is going to be a little bit harder to implement just because not only is it one of our weaknesses, but it's also a threat facing our company, or as facing FIFA rather. But our strategy is going to be minimizing the legal risks with partnering with external compliance advisors and also reforming internal structures. So obviously, with all the scrutiny and the corruption we've had in the past, there is some issues internally with FIFA, and so this is really going to be aimed at fixing those internal issues, fixing that corruption, in order to regain that public trust, like we talked about. Having that reforming that internal structure will help serve as a form of accountability, really, for FIFA. Holding others accountable is going to be a huge talking point for us, and just keeping everyone aware of how important the public perception is and how important it is just for FIFA to grow as a brand as a whole, if we want to embody the mission and vision statement that Doug talked about already. Yeah, and so those are our 4 strategies, which will bring us into our conclusion. And so in all, if I want to touch on everything that we did today, we reformed the FIFA's vision statement, mission statement, and values to better align with what we stand for. We found issues with how FIFA was run in the past and the corruption and the lack of transparency. So reframing those values and statements, we think will really help benefit us in the future. using those reform statements, we performed a SWOT analysis to identify areas we can leverage to our advantage and where we can grow. And then we built off that SWOT analysis to develop strategies for us to implement and really embody the new vision and mission statement that we identified. So yeah, that's our project. Thank you all so much for listening, and we hope you learned something.